Jemma Redgrave, Sophie Aldred, and Sophia Myles.
Shall I sit here then?
I can have a jump there
That
then.
leaves you all on your own.
Why don't you just move to there now, and that way you're... That's a good guy. So thank you very much everyone for joining us today. So we're going to open the question mics up, so there's a question mic there. If you wanted to go and ask questions, please feel free and we will direct them to you. But first of all, how have we all been? How are we doing?
Great.
It's got colder, hasn't it?
It really has.
Sorry about the hat and gloves, but
Yes.
really, it's cold. You got your coat?
I've got my
You've
Yeah.
got your coat on.
I've got my
How are
coat
you?
on.
You've got a lovely warm jumper.
Yeah, I'm alright.
Yeah, all right, good.
Are you
Just
warm?
checking. Are you okay, everyone?
Good.
You see some of these cosplays around there, but they must be boiling, some of them, I don't think.
I'm freezing some of them.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary coming in the morning with a duvet on and watching people with handkerchiefs sewn together, looking amazing but cold. I think it's really brave.
Yes, there are some costumes and you think, whoa, that has to be chilly.
And what is it like then for you, all of you, when the NC people come up to you and they're dressed as your characters? How does that kind of make you feel?
Inadequate.
Flattered.
Flattered, yes.
Flattered. I'm
Flattered.
flattered.
Does anyone come up as Madame Pompadour?
I've had a few, yeah, and that's like a huge feat because to make, handmade that costume, a replica of that costume is something to behold. So yeah, in America, I've seen a couple that were really outstanding.
There's somebody here who's made no effort at all. Look at that.
I mean,
I mean, you know, just put on whatever was in the wardrobe this morning. Yeah. Without
this
thinking.
old thing.
Yeah.
And
Fabulous. Absolutely
our,
fabulous.
Where's the ace jacket today? Are you here? She came yesterday. Anyway, that's fabulous. I love it when people come and they have their own version of Ace's jacket. So they've taken the idea and then they've personalised it with their own badges. I think that's really lovely.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, something that because that's what Ace did anyway, I think.
Yeah.
She got her badges. Well, that's what I did because half of them were my own badges. Didn't realise such things as continuity. So of course, when I had all these badges that were mine, like my Jerry Anderson fan club badge and little thing that my mum had given me and all sorts, and I put them on, and then there was a time when it got dirty. There was a sugar glass, there was an explosion, sugar glass fell, went all over the jacket. I said, bring in the stunt jacket, and they brought in the other jacket, and then they said, but this is not the same, because they were mine, and I only had one of each. And the producer got furious as the costume department sat there for about half an hour transferring badges, and the time was ticking away in the studio.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And how then did you kind of work with your costumes for each of you then? And because sometimes when they're writing a scene and they produce the actual characters and images and stuff, they don't actually look at the practicality of it sometimes. So
I'll say, I ended up mountain climbing in tight skirt and 2-inch high heels. Yeah.
So do you actually get to say to them, okay, come on, we need to do something here to make it work for all of you?
What, to John Nathan Turner? No, not in those days. John was the youngest producer at the BBC ever in the drama department, and I think he was quite scared in a way, although being careful not to show it, and so he was very keen that everything should be right, you know, and you have to be very confident to delegate, and so he always knew what he wanted. And he wanted a tight skirt and very high heels, because I was a little bit short for an air stewardess.
Well, luckily, by the time I came along, which was what, 7 years later?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. I didn't really realise that the costume designer kind of came up with the designer, because I'd done a lot of fringe theatre and children's theatre out the back of vans and touring and musicals and stuff like that. And so when the script editor, Andrew Cartmel, came up to me and said at the read-through, "Oh, I really like what you're wearing. Do you think Ace would wear this sort of thing?" And I was wearing cut-off army shorts and Doc Martens and, you know, a stripy t-shirt and sort of what Ace. I thought he meant, oh, okay, right, you wear that stuff. So I did some research into what 16-year-olds were wearing in clubs, and I saw these jackets and I thought, wow, they look amazing. These parkas and things, and it was. Do you remember you probably don't remember, but there was a band called the Beastie Boys, and they were nicking things off cars, you know, like BMW badges and Mercedes.
Yes, because I had a bloody BMW, not BMW, a VW at the time, and my badge went, and you'd replace it, and it'd go again.
Yeah, because they would then hang them on massive chains from their neck and do this a lot. And so, you know, I thought, oh, that's Ace. So I took these pictures to the costume designer, and he said, yeah, let's do that. So I designed, in effect, my costume. And then, luckily, John Nathan Turner, by that time, I think he'd just sort of gone, oh, yeah, okay. Because he didn't quite understand the character of Ace, and he didn't quite know. But luckily, he kind of, let me have, and it was great because it was nice and warm. I had a special pocket put in the inside so I could carry things in there, like props and things, and, you know, hand warmers on location. And so I was nice and warm.
Poacher's pocket.
Yeah, it was a poacher's pocket. And I wore Doc Martens, which I thought were, because then I'd always thought, like, you know, why do Doctor Who companions run around quarries in unsuitable footwear? Of course they're going to sprain their ankles, you know, and it hurts and they scream. So I thought, right, if I wear Doc Martens, then when I'm doing all that running around quarries, I won't twist my ankles. So that's where that came from.
Sophia, as costumes go, you probably hit the jackpot with practical. I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah, so
And warmth.
So some of you may not know, but the kind of the famous gold dress was actually made for Helen Mirren for the film Madness of King George, and so yeah, it was sort of handed down from her.
Wow.
Did it have her name in it? Like, because they used to do that at the BBC, didn't they?
I think it did.
Put them in.
Yeah, I think
Was it from the BBC, or was it? It was a bit later than that, than the BBC costume store. It was probably Cosprop or Angels or one of those. Because I remember fittings in those costume houses for different projects, and often the actor's name or the actress's name, depending whether you like that word or not, was sewn in, and it was something sort of thrilling knowing that you were wearing something that Maggie Smith had worn, or that.
Not in my case.
Or all sorts of things, not in your case, bad. Yeah.
Good time. Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of great.
I had a Judi Dench one, I remember, for
Yeah.
a children's programme I did, and we had to do some amazing flamboyant costume. But that was those costume houses are amazing.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah. Which is the kind of most flamboyant, sumptuous costume you've ever had?
In my entire career,
Yeah. 'Cause you
probably
don't-
that dress actually from Doctor Who, I would say. I mean, I did a lot of period drama right at the beginning of my career, and kind of I always associated going to work as having to wear a corset. And back in the day, these whalebone corsets, they'd only wear them for a couple of hours, you know, at an event or something. But we worked long hours in the film, so you had it on for sort of 12 hours a day. And I tell you, my boobs at times went completely numb, and I worried that I'd ever get the feeling back in me. Honestly, yeah. yeah, I go home and yeah, but they're all right.
That's good to know.
How
You
many,
heard it here first, folks.
how many days did you have to film wearing the dresses then?
Well, I was in a dress of some kind every day, and I think the episode took, gosh, less than a month for sure.
Wow.
So, and it's also strange, like at least if you're doing a period drama, everyone's in the gear, so you can kind of all sympathise with each other. But with this one, it was quite strange to be the only person dressed in period costume when Billy Piper's there in jeans and a t-shirt. And you have to kind of remind yourself to sort of hold yourself in an appropriate way and all of that jazz. So, yeah. But the heel thing, the only thing that I hate about being an actor, or a female one at that, is the high heels. Because for some reason or another, producers, directors, they always want the woman to wear heels because they say, oh no, but we've got to make the character sexy. Now, the thing is, if you're playing somebody who, for example, I had this fight when I was doing Spooks, playing somebody that works for MI6, who in their right mind would put on 6-inch stilettos when they know that they're going out to kind of having to capture bad guys? It's just ridiculous. So I'd like a ban on heels.
Me too. You'll notice Power of the Doctor, when it came back for that was sort of a stipulation, immediate stipulation, trainers.
Very good.
Jemma, what's the most sumptuous costume you've ever worn?
Oh, I've done a few costume dramas, but I did an Oscar Wilde on stage at Chichester, and An Ideal Husband, and Mrs. Cheveley is she's a wonderful character. She's not a nice person, but she's but she's like many women at that time had to live on her wits because she wasn't born with money, and she's brilliant and wonderful, but a blackmailer, and one of the things she is. And she uses clothes, and it's very descriptive. The first costume is she walks into a ball wearing pink, and I had this incredible, very bold, not quite as light as that, a darker pink, but not far off, and it was amazing. And the second costume was based on. It's worth looking up. They were called Worth dresses. They're Edwardian, and they were. Worth was a fashion house that made these dresses. Most Edwardian Victorian costumes are split in two. There's a top half and the skirt, and it looks like a dress, but it's a top and a blouse and a skirt. But these were full-length dresses, one piece from top to bottom, and the line is so beautiful. Oh, I loved it. I felt $1 million in it. Yeah, I loved it. That is a wonderful part of the job, I think, is developing your character through costume. Dressing up and or down or whatever it happens to be, but so much of it is done through the expression of what clothes you wear. So I love that part of it.
We've got some questions, so we're going to start off with this person here.
Hiya. Hello. Hiya. My name's Sharon. We've all worked on different eras of Doctor Who. There's classic, new, and then even the newer ones. How do you think the TV industry, and especially working as a woman in TV, has changed since classic Who to new Who?
The money's better. The money is better. The conditions are better. From when we were doing it, I mean, truly, when I was doing it at the very start of the 80s at the BBC, the treatment was anything but comfortable and luxurious and any of those kinds of things. You really had to be a big star to get a Winnebago or even a three-way, Whereas you know, these days they're pretty standard. So
The crew is more diverse in
Yeah.
terms of its gender balance. It used to be that the women
Yes.
worked in the costume department and the makeup department, and the men worked in the camera department and everywhere else basically. And now I work with a female director on Doctor Who, and I've worked with many women in the camera department, in every department, and diverse in every way. The crew on Who is the most diverse cast of crew I've ever worked with, and I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think conditions is a huge one. Because we used to have to change anywhere we could, and you'd go, or there'd be a makeup truck where, you know, they'd draw a little flimsy curtain across and you'd get into your costume with loads of other people hanging around. Or I once remember when we did that hilarious Dimensions in Time, the 3D thing, we were in Greenwich actually, just over the water, and I had to change into my costume in the toilet of the pub of the Gypsy Moth pub in Greenwich. But that was just like what you did, you know, and then we got made up on the bar stools at the bar. So there wasn't that much. I was surprised because I'd come from this world of, you know, mucking in where you do everything in children's theatre or even musicals. And I thought, oh, TV is going to be much more glamorous, and it really wasn't. But now, yes, you do get the Winnebago, and hours, the working hours are different. It was very much, I mean, that was in a way quite a good thing. The unions were very strong, especially for the crews in those days. So
yes.
Absolutely, everyone were down tools at 10 o'clock at night, and you'd have very strict breaks. And now you do this thing, which is, what's it called?
Running lunch.
Yeah, running lunch. I mean, you know, you just sort of
Eat when you can.
on the fly, don't you? And that's not so nice. Because you'd go to, well, at the BBC, you'd go to the BBC canteen for an hour at lunch, and you'd rub shoulders with comedians and children's presenters and newsreaders and everyone, and that was really good fun. And you'd have an actual chance to, whereas now you just work. What have you found, Sophia?
No, I was just thinking about breakfast as well. How it's always quite difficult because they want us to eat breakfast in the makeup chair a lot of the time, which is fine, but like if you're having your hair done, but it's sort of impossible for someone to do your makeup while you're having your breakfast at the same time, so I've never quite managed to do that.
Actually, the union thing is quite interesting because I can remember being 3 seconds from the end of a scene, basically, and somebody pulling the plug. And it was kind of how do I put this? It was so bloody minded. And you thought, I can remember thinking at the time, how is this going to survive, this kind of behaviour? Because, as you say, when you come from the theatre, which I had too, and you know, from people, unlike I work with Ken, like Sylvester, I work with Ken Campbell quite a bit, and people like, it just wasn't an attitude you encountered, you know. It was all about making the show good. And all right, you don't want people taking the Michael, but at the same time, you want, you know, you want people to come to the party and feel that you're all part of a working environment, you know.
And we have a question from another person here.
Hello.
Hi, so this is a question for everybody. If you had your very own TARDIS and you can go anywhere in the world, any dimension or time period, where would you want to go?
Well, I don't want to go anywhere where you can't get a painkiller. So that narrows things down a bit for me. I don't want to go back to dentistry without Novocaine. So, but if we're just visiting, I think the Jazz Age New York maybe. I'd love to go. I'd love to go back there.
It's difficult, that one, isn't it? Because as a woman, it's not great historically, really, to go back. I wouldn't have thought. I'd quite like to go to somewhere where, some tribe somewhere where, Amazonians maybe, that would be good. Yeah, quite like to do that. But then right now today, I'd quite like to go to Norwich, where my dad's recovering from a knee operation, and go and see him. That would be nice.
I wouldn't go that far back. I'd go 10 years, and then I'd start just at the moment after my son was born. I wouldn't do the birth again, but I'd like to just... And those first 6 months were just the most magical time of my life. I'd go back and do that again.
Well, when you asked me the question, I thought immediately of my grandmother, whom I absolutely adored. And I'd love to go back and spend some time with her and on the family farm. So yeah, that's what I'd like to do. But the truth of the matter is, as a woman, as you said, it weren't so good for us in the past, and perhaps it'd be better to look at the future and to think, I'd like to. I think we will colonise the moon. And so maybe I'd go and spend some time on the moon, because you can see the Earth quite clearly. Wouldn't that be exciting?
Yeah, wonderful.
So the first moon colony, I'd go to the first moon colony after having seen Grandma.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I don't want to get too close.
Hello.
I was wondering, for kind of each of your characters, what was like a favourite character moment for you guys, either to film or when you rewatch, you go, oh, that's really cool? Or what would be like your favourite moment for your characters, maybe?
Oh.
Oh, mine's so obvious. I'll go first. It's the beating up the Dalek with a baseball bat. How could it not be? And then getting to do it twice in a lifetime. That's pretty cool. Doing it again in Power of the Doctor. I think that's the defining moment of Ace's character.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I think it's my farewell sequence. And I didn't really like it at the time. And Peter came into rehearsal. He'd seen the script just before me. And he said, oh, you're not going to like your farewell because it's really sudden. And actually, funny enough, it is the way I often make decisions. It's quite suddenly. Something's been building in the background for a while, and then suddenly you go, yeah, actually now. And I do that in the show, and I quite like that sequence. I enjoyed that sequence.
One of my favourite moments on my entire time was getting into the TARDIS. That moment, and it was such a childhood wish fulfillment. So I'd quite like to go back into the TARDIS.
The moment that stands out for me is when he says to her, pick a star, any star, and she runs to the window and looks up, and that feeling of just mega excitement, love, passion, kind of thrill, I think. I like that moment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm applying to drama schools at the moment, and I was wondering what advice you have for people getting into acting.
Don't.
I was going to say keep going. Keep going and going and going and going, and just when you're most disillusioned and you think it's all failing, go, go, go. Because that's how it is in the business. So it's good practice. And also there's no such thing as, if you make failure mean there's something wrong with you, then it's not a good idea. Because you will fail and fail and fail.
Yeah. I think the working bit, that's the joy, but the bit that nobody really prepares you for as an actor is learning how to deal with the unemployment and the constant rejection. So really I would kind of help, if I was to give any advice to somebody, have to sit down and have quite a long talk because I've been through, multiple periods of unemployment over my career and, thought that I'd never get a job again. I'm currently in one now. But yeah, it's painful. But the thing is that as an actor, I don't know if you guys agree, but whenever I have to go through something personally that's very difficult, even though it hurts, I know I can just sort of think, well, I've now experienced this and I'll be able to, at some point, I hope, bring that emotional, force into the work. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
That's a pleasure.
Hey.
Hello. Hi.
I'm
Hi.
back. I wanted to ask if you could take your Doctor Who character and put them in any other TV show, movie, theatre, anything, where would you put them? What would you do with them?
Oh my God.
Oh, I think Ace would go very well in the Marvel franchise, I think. I think she's kind of, she's made for that really. She could be, because although she's quite, there's a lot of subtlety in Doctor Who. I think there's a lot, I think she'd be quite a good kind of cipher as well in the Marvel world.
I think I always thought of Tegan as being like Lucy and Charlie Brown, and that really Tegan was Lucy in space, and so I reckon I think I can see her in Charlie Brown, perhaps as Lucy's more difficult cousin.
I can't think of. I don't know. Can you think of anything? Where would Kate Lethbridge Stewart?
Spooks.
Yeah, maybe Spooks. That's a good call.
Men in Black.
Yeah, that's very good.
You just picture her going, oh, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, very good. I think those. Yeah, very good.
How about you? It's got to be some bonnet thing, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'd like her to come back to Doctor Who in some shape or form.
Maybe she could be a modern character.
Yeah, or to come back into the show as somebody who sort of looks like a haggard old version of her, but it's kind of evil and dark or something. I think that would be quite interesting.
Thank you.
Hi guys, this
Hello.
is kind of two different questions for the group of you. For Jemma,
Yes.
if you could travel with any of the Doctors, if you were a full-time companion, I'm not asking you to play favourites, but who would you like to travel with the most? And then for the others, if you had to travel with a Doctor that you haven't travelled before, you haven't met with before, which one of those would that be?
I think I'd travel with Jodie. I think I loved every moment on the two that I did with her. And
But
then
wasn't that to do with us?
Three of us could travel together, and we'd have a lot of laughs with John Bishop and Bradley Walsh would be there. I'm taking everybody,
The whole gang.
the whole gang, yeah. Yes, please.
Amazing.
I know.
Oh, go on.
John Hurt.
But it had to be a doctor. Oh, is he a doctor?
He's the doctor. He's the war doctor.
Right.
You've done your research.
Who do you want, Sophia?
Well, this I suppose echoes what I said yesterday, but I was such a Wurzel Gummidge fan, so I think it would have to be John Pertwee.
It was funny when you said that, and you said that yesterday as well. I thought, yeah, John was the first Doctor I knew. I saw on TV. So yeah, maybe it would be John. Although I don't think John's Doctor would have put up with Ace for very long. I think he'd have been rather annoyed by Ace.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Hi, I was just, Mr. Janet, you were talking about working with Ken Campbell.
Yeah.
I wonder if you had any stories to share about working with someone who would possibly have been the Seventh Doctor, given his way.
Well, we did an opera called The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. And so I had a couple of small parts in it. And then I was off on stage aside, improvising vocally. And people used to come in from the Ken Campbell coterie of actors. So Bob Hoskins, Sylvester, Dave Hill, Bill Nye, all used to come in and out, sort of, and improvise on this bit at the ICA, at the side of the stage. And yeah, so that was my first Ken Campbell experience.
Well, that is all the time we have with you today. So please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving a massive round of applause for all of our panelists today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.